Hey loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. I'm going to get right into it because we are doing a first trimester recap. This is my first pregnancy, so I wanted to recap it. It's very long overdue. I won't even tell you how far I am in this pregnancy. Just know I should have filmed this video a long time ago. It's okay, I took detailed notes the whole way through, so we're going to go over it because I know you guys just want me to get right to it. I'm going to start off with my symptoms and changes that I felt happened in the beginning of my pregnancy. So I found out I was pregnant really early on. So I think I found out just after 3 weeks. Like I waited a week for my period to be missed, but I kind of knew I was pregnant, and then I did a test and I knew I was pregnant. That being said, my symptoms took a bit longer, I feel like, to develop. In the beginning, there was nothing, and I was really like, is this normal? Is there a baby in here? Is the baby okay? Because you just hear all these symptoms that hit you right off the bat, and it's different for every woman. In no particular order, this is just like a list of the symptoms I did feel in the first trimester. Some took a bit longer to kick in versus others. So the main one I want to talk about, though, is cramping, because I feel like it's not talked about enough, because I had to deep dive or research a lot to even see other women experiencing this, because I didn't know it was normal. I thought something was wrong. So my cramping was normal as long as you're not having spotting, which was what my doctor was explaining. And even if you have spotting, it could still be normal. That's a whole different thing. But with me, I never had spotting. I just had cramping, and I wouldn't say severe cramping, but like almost like my period is actively happening type of cramping. It's the pains that we're always used to. But yeah, I had cramping through my first trimester, mostly in the beginning of it, but that was like a weird symptom for me, and it was kind of freaking me out until I just learned more about it. The next one is nipple sensitivities, like, and I mean like sore nipples. I feel like people talk about your breasts being sore in pregnancy, maybe later on, but in the beginning part, it was just the nipples. I think it's the hormones, I don't know, but they were like so sore. Like anytime I hit them or put my bra on, it was not a good time. The symptom I had was extreme fatigue. No matter how much I slept, I was so tired. I remember at work in the back room, I like was looking for something for a customer, and I really was just falling asleep staring at the shelves. It was so bad. Like it's just, you're just so tired, and like your body just feels exhausted. Another symptom I had that like my husband jokes about is like my irritation. I was just irritated to everything. Besides him, he wasn't as bad. I didn't really have too much irritation to him, but I was irritated with everyone and everything else around me. And I work in customer service, so I was just not having it with these customers in the beginning. In the first trimester, I was just like, I'm over it. Honestly, that kind of dragged through the rest of the pregnancy, but like definitely in the beginning, I noticed it. I was like, I don't have the energy to deal with anybody, and everyone annoys me. A symptom that I ended up having to think back on and like, oh, that must have been because of the pregnancy, was not having any motivation. I thought I was just being very lazy or something was wrong with me, but then I realized like I'm pregnant. It's okay. Like your body goes through different things, and one of the things I was going through was having no motivation to do anything. I took like a 4-month break from YouTube because I had no motivation to make videos or edit or anything. I didn't clean my house for months. Like my husband was cleaning, but like the deep cleans that I typically do, didn't touch them, didn't do it. I just had no motivation. I legit just went to work and came home. And that's mostly because I needed to go to work. But if I didn't need to go to work, I would have had no motivation to even go. This one's not so pretty. Well, most of the symptoms aren't that pretty, but constipation hit me a little hard in the first trimester. It was weird because I've always had like good bowel movements. I've always been really regular, and not having that, I was like, oh, okay, this is different. My big symptom that I feel like some people caught on to but didn't realize I was pregnant was acne. I broke out so bad, still am to this day. If you follow my vlogs, you can see my like bare skin. I still have so much acne going on. It brought me all the way back to like high school. I had a good 4 years of having clean skin, and because I've always struggled with acne, but I like got it under control. But then I got pregnant, and then my skin was like, no, we don't care that you're in your 20s. We are gonna go back to teenagers years, and my skin has like the acne, I can't deal with it. It drives me insane. And I maybe it was because like the summer was coming around, but I was really greasy and oily in the first trimester. It's calmed down a bit more now, but first trimester I was like super greasy and oily. I feel like that's what they talk about, the pregnancy glow. But the thing is, if you're acne prone, greasy and oily does not work well. It gives you zits. So I was having zits all over the place, and then I scar really easy. Going with the acne, I actually developed body acne, and I don't know if that's just like a hormone thing or if it's the fact that I'm carrying my husband's child and I have his DNA running through me, because my husband suffers from body acne. I've never had body acne in my life, never dealt with it. I've always had face acne, but never had body acne. And the fact that I was getting on my chest and my back, my legs, I was like, what is going on? So again, don't know if that's a hormone thing or if that was just like I'm carrying his DNA and it's going through me. Aversions. So I didn't have really any cravings in the first trimester. I just had a lot of aversions to food. I actually not lost a lot of weight, but I went 10 pounds down because I just didn't want to eat anything. It's not that I was throwing things up. I just had no like motivation to feed myself. I didn't want food. And then when I did, I would just try to eat fruits and stuff and try to eat some breads, like carbs, but my body did not want protein. I don't know what it was. I would drink protein shakes just to give myself protein, but I didn't want to eat meat. I didn't want to bite anything that like had protein in it. It was just so weird to me because I'm such a protein lover. Like I'm a meat lover. I'm not a person that likes vegetables and carbs as much. I like meat. But when I first got pregnant, I couldn't deal with it. It was just like, don't want it. Ew, get it away from me. And chicken was the one that like disgusted me. I couldn't eat it, couldn't look at it, couldn't smell it, but it was so weird to me because I love chicken. Chicken is like my favorite protein source. Towards the end of my first trimester, I actually developed bad headaches. I've always suffered from headaches, and then actually in high school, I suffered from migraines for all 4 years of high school. I don't know really why that was a thing. Could have been a hormone thing too, but I was going almost back into migraines and like really bad headaches towards the end of the first trimester. And my doctor, like, we had to go over it and, make sure everything was good because that could be a sign of things. But I just was prone to them, and then the hormones, I guess, made it worse. So I was getting really bad headaches like usually every 2 days. A couple of them took me out where I couldn't even leave the house. I couldn't go to work. I just had to lay in the bed. But thankfully those went away. Quickly, I want to talk about some symptoms I didn't have that I thought I would have because everyone talks about it, and that is morning sickness. Everyone talks about like, oh, when morning sickness is not just the morning, it's all day, which is 100% true. But I never really got it often. I had it a couple times, and that was really only when I had no food in my stomach. I always felt like I had to have something in my stomach, or it would make me feel like nauseous but not throw up. Like I never had like a real throw up session the whole pregnancy. The only time I threw up in the first trimester was brushing my teeth. I think that was just like a gag reflex. It was a little too deep and I just threw up. But I was thankful and blessed not to have the really bad morning sickness, but I was expecting it. And I know it's different for everybody. And, people who go through it really bad are probably like, girl, you had it so much better than me. But I think for me, it affected my anxiety because not having it, I thought something was wrong. I'm like, oh my God, like, am I still pregnant? Because, like, everything is so stretched out with the doctor's appointments that I was like stressing, like, hope everything's fine. Like, I'm not having these symptoms that everyone else has. But I think that also plays a part of just like your body genetics. I think they talk about like if your mom and your grandma had bad morning sickness, it can kind of fall down the line. So that could be it. But that was like something I just want to talk about that people say you usually end up having, but mine was like pretty minimal, and I'm super blessed for that. I think I covered all the main ones that I noticed that was different for me. Let me know in the comments if you guys had any of these symptoms or changes as well in your body in the first trimester. I wanted to know like what's common, because I feel like some of them aren't talked about as much. Now moving on, I want to talk about doctor's visits / milestones, like kind of the steps and the things that happen when you first find out you're pregnant. Because if you're like me and it's your first pregnancy, or you're hoping to get pregnant soon, I feel like some things are talked about and some things weren't for me. So I live in Ontario, Canada, so it could be different depending where you're from. I know it's definitely different from Canada to America. So here in Ontario, Canada anyways, unless you're already seeing an OB or fertility like specialists, you don't have an OB until I think it's like middle of your second trimester. You don't see an OB. You see your family doctor. Well, that's what I call family doctor, your main provider. So he's been my doctor like since I was like a teenager. So once I found out I was pregnant, I called his office. I let them know I was pregnant. The nurse at my office sent me for blood work to confirm like pregnancy. So they check your HCG levels, and I got to do 2 rounds of blood work before seeing my doctor. So I think like I called, and then like 2 weeks later I had that appointment to see my doctor for like the first prenatal appointment. And then they just go over a lot of questions there. They go over a lot of like health questions, a lot of your like, they even ask personal questions. They ask like, do you have a support system around you? Like, is everything good at the house? I wasn't expecting that because I don't feel like anyone talks about that. Like the first doctor visit you have when you're pregnant, like I didn't think I would get like, it was really nice about it. I just didn't think I would get like questions like that. And then they ask like your like ethnicity and race and stuff. And I'm just like, I guess you need to know that because certain things are like tied to certain genetics and stuff like that. But I think it was just funny for me in the moment because me and my husband were in the room, and I don't know, being someone of mixed ethnicity is like when they got to that question on the paper form, it says like black, white, I think Asian, something like that. But I'm mixed, so I'm like, I looked at my nurse, I'm like, I'm mixed. on black and white. So she had to write other and then write black and white. I was like, they still don't have that as an option on the forms. Anyways, so yeah, I did the 2 rounds of blood work to see the HCG levels rising and just confirming that pregnancy hormone. And then I seen my doctor, you know, did the initial prenatal appointment. And then I got sent for the ultrasound, which I think is pretty similar in America where you don't typically go for ultrasound until later on. So I didn't get sent for ultrasound, I think, until like week 7 or 8. That's when I got sent for like a viability ultrasound, which again, if you've never gone through all this, it's kind of crazy to hear that like, hey, yeah, we're going to send you an ultrasound to make sure that the pregnancy is even there, to make sure that the baby's gonna be okay, or that there is a real baby and that it's in the spot it needs to be. Because I learned so much on this journey. I learned about like molar pregnancies, ectopic pregnancies, all of that. This is all happening in the first trimester. Different dates, it can be spread out and stretched out depending on your doctor and your care system. All of that is being done through my primary care provider. I also got a pap smear in Ontario. I think it's every 3 years they recommend getting them, so mine was coming up this year anyways. They did do one in the first trimester. For that, I think they try to have them done before a certain like week in pregnancy. I also had another blood test for the genetic testing, where it's like the blood tests, I think blood tests and ultrasound one, where it's like minimal, it's non-invasive, it doesn't do anything to do the genetic testing, and that's to test for certain like chromosome stuff, I think it is. Moving on to emotional changes / challenges, because that is a part of pregnancy and I wanted to talk about it in this recap. For me, I know it's similar, a lot of women have talked about it, but for me, I did feel a mix of both being happy and being nervous, because it's my first pregnancy. You're nervous for all the what ifs and all the stuff you've never gone through, but you're also really happy because you know that there's a baby on the way, especially if you're someone who wanted the baby or was trying. I know, again, it's different for everybody. You also kind of feel, or like for me, I felt a little alone. Like my husband knew I was pregnant because he was the first one I told, but we did the test together, but no one else knew. And I told my family pretty early on. I think I told most of my family when I was, so we found out around like 3-4 weeks. I told everyone really when I was like 6-7 weeks. So a lot of the family did find out like pretty early, because I just couldn't not tell anybody, because I was like, it felt a little isolating to know this exciting news but knowing you can't tell anybody. So I wanted to tell the really close people in my life. I didn't tell a lot of people on the outside of my life. I didn't tell YouTube, I didn't tell my work and stuff like that until later on, but it is really helpful to have close people in your circle know this. The other emotional change I felt was the feeling of being disconnected to the baby, because in the first trimester there's nothing really there to show that there's a baby in you. Your body hasn't started growing yet, you don't feel anything yet, you're just having all these different hormones and emotions happening. So you're like, there's something in there, but really it's like the beginning stages, and I don't know, you just kind of, for me, I didn't feel as connected as I do now, which I do think is kind of normal, and you get more connected to the baby as the baby starts growing more. For me, the emotional changes also came from the hormone changes. I'm already a sensitive person. I'm a Cancer. I cry about everything. But once I got pregnant, these hormones, they took me through a loop. I felt like I could be triggered to cry a lot easier than I already was. And again, I'm already a crier, but I was able to cry a lot easier now in the first trimester. I remember there was a moment I cried over hot dogs. That was a whole thing. But yeah, the hormone changes are a lot. Now moving on to what helped me in the first trimester / must-haves for the first trimester. I wanted to throw this part in here because I do think that there are certain things that are really helpful to have on hand when you're in the first trimester of pregnancy. If possible, a good support system or someone in your corner. I know it's not like that for everybody, but if you can get good people around you and have someone really close to you help you in the beginning stages of the pregnancy, it's very helpful. I was really blessed on that part of having so many people around me. Something else that really helped me was just having open communication with the Lord and being in prayer. I made sure to stay committed to my faith through this journey, and also just really bring every concern I have to the Lord. I suffer from anxiety, but also health anxiety is a really big thing for me. So when I got pregnant, I had a lot of just random things going on in my head that I know weren't true, but just anxiety loves to attack your mind. So I really just always had to be in constant communication with the Lord and just understand his plan and let him guide me. Another thing that really helped me was my husband really encouraging me to be easy on myself. He was a big support system in this whole thing, but when he just kind of broke it down that you don't need to be so hard on yourself, you don't need to have all this stuff done, you don't need to feel bad for not doing things, it like helped me a lot more just to relax and realize that I'm growing a human. I'm allowed to be in bed and not do anything. I'm such a type A person where I always have all this stuff on the go. I have ADHD, so sometimes my mind is all over the place and I have like 50 things I want to work on at the same time. So not having something to constantly do or have the motivation to do something constantly was kind of like draining me. So just being easy on myself, it really helped. Staying hydrated really helped with the weird symptoms I was having when it came to like constipation, acne, all that stuff. So just make sure you drink a lot of water through the whole pregnancy, but definitely in the first trimester, it really helped. And one thing that helped me get more food in, because again, I was saying how I just didn't have the motivation or didn't want to eat anything, was eating smaller little snacks. And I wasn't having meals. Like in the beginning, I couldn't have meals at all. If you gave me a plate full of food, it was disgusting to me. If you like broke up little things and gave me little smaller plates, I was gonna eat it. So a lot of times I was having like little kid lunches at work. I would have like crackers, cheese, grapes, a little bit of protein, stuff like that. It was easier for me to eat that way than having big meals. Now, getting into my must have items, the first one is prenatals. I feel like that's a must. Your doctor's going to ask you about them anyways. I'll leave the one I'm taking on the screen. Going along with prenatals, I was also consistently taking magnesium. I still do. Even before getting pregnant, I've taken magnesium for like 2 years now, every day straight. And magnesium to me is just a really good thing for your body, but it's also really good in pregnancy. It can help with the constipation and all that as well. Another must have is having comfy, stretchy clothes. I know people think, oh, you won't need those until your like third trimester, but I wore a lot in my first trimester because I was so bloated in first trimester that I looked more pregnant in first trimester than I did second trimester. The bloating was like kind of crazy. I don't think I mentioned that in the symptoms actually. Bloating was a really big one. Bloating happened before I even did the pregnancy test, and I was like, what is going on? Why can I not fit my pants? Another nice thing to have is a pregnancy journal, whether it's digital or physical. I have a physical one. Having somewhere to write down stuff on your mind is really nice, and to document your journey. First trimester, I do recommend starting with your oils and lotions. I'm already a huge skincare girly, so I've always used this stuff on my body anyways, but I've incorporated other products in when I found out I was pregnant. I even make my own homemade body butter, but find something that works for you and definitely start that regimen in the beginning. The next thing that I recommend is getting some pregnancy apps. There's a couple that I've used. I'll leave them on the screen. The two I use right now that I consistently use are, I think it's What to Expect. They're really nice. They have like little videos that go along with each week. And then the other one is Pregnancy Plus, I think, that has like an animated version of a baby growing. And I think it's really cool to look at every once in a while. But those are the two I've been actively keep using all the way into the pregnancy. And since I'm on the topic of technology, this one I think is a weird one that no one talks about. I feel like I'm the only person who's going to recommend this. And that is getting you like some type of AI assistance while you're in your pregnancy journey. I recommend this, especially for someone who is like me. If you are an overthinker, if you have anxiety, is because you're gonna want to use Google, but Google is just a whole lot of everything thrown at you at once. And if you're searching things on Google, you could be coming across things that are more harmful for your mind because it's most likely not happening to you. The symptom you're looking at on Google, Google's going to give you everything at once, and you're probably going to be looking at something that's going to stress you out. So I love technology. My husband is in the IT field. We are a house that has technology in it, and I think it's a tool to be used and nothing to be scared of. So that being said, I basically went and got myself a AI pregnancy assistant, and that's what I've been calling it my whole pregnancy. My husband thinks it's so funny. AI is on a lot of things now. I think AI is like on Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram, but I like to use ChatGTP. Right when I got pregnant, I went into my app and I basically asked it, hey, I'm pregnant. Can I use you as a assistant to help answer questions I have through this pregnancy journey? That's the prompt I gave it, answered back with yes. And I've been using it ever since. So when I have questions about things, I will ask it questions and it helps break down things a lot more. It's more easy to understand. You can even tell it to like give less recommendations on things or to use more science-based things. Like it's easier than looking things up on Google to me. Yes, clearly always ask your doctor and be in communication with medical professionals about things. But sometimes my appointments were so stretched out, I would have questions about little things, or I would just be wondering about something and I would want to know the answer to it. So I would always ask Chat. That's what my nickname for it is, Chat. I would ask basic questions like, hey, what are some things I should be focusing on doing in the first trimester? Or what are some things I should be focusing on eating in the first trimester? Stuff like that. It was just a lot easier for me to get my information that way. Honestly, I don't want to go too deep on that, but I do think it's like a cool little thing I want to speak on. I think it's really nice to have that at your hand, have that technology at your hand. So you might as well use it. Let me know if you use AI at all, and if you would use it to help you assist through your pregnancy journey. But that is it, guys. I think I covered everything from my first trimester. Like I said, it's really long overdue. I should have did this video a long time ago, but I had no motivation back then. That's what I was talking about. I didn't really have a bump at all. I have a smaller bump, I would say. A lot of people always question that I'm even pregnant because I just don't show that much. I think that is due because it's my first pregnancy. People say it's different for everybody, and you know, first pregnancy versus second pregnancy, it's different as well. But if I have any photos, I'll leave them up on the screen of what the bump was kind of looking like as a plus size girl, because I wasn't no skinny mini before getting pregnant. I was already thicker and heavier, so it looks different on everybody, right? And I'm taller. I'm about 5'7.5", and I have more height in my torso. So there was a lot of space here for baby to be growing and not be showing. If you guys have any questions about the first trimester or pregnancy, definitely feel free to reach out to me. Again, this is my first pregnancy, but you know, I feel like I'm getting through it and I'm learning things as I go, so I would love to help others. And also, if you've already been pregnant before or you have any helpful suggestions, just leave them in the comments for me and other people, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.